Hello, my name is Steve Bowler, and in this video I'm going to be configuring time-based access control lists. And what we're going to do here is we're going to set up the ACL on router 2. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to show here how you can use an access control list based on you can block people or permit traffic based on the time or time of day. So what we'll do is we will go and do a basic example of a time-based ACL. So what we'll do first here is we'll make sure that we have our routing up. If we go to router 1, we'll do router EIGRP for our networks. As you can see here in our topology on router 1, our loopback is 1.1.1.1/32. Then we have the networks from router 2 to router 1 and router 3, which is the 12 network, and then the network from router 2 to router 3 is the 23 network. Also we have a loopback on router 3, which is 3.3.3.3/32. And so what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be using the telnet command on R1 trying to get to the loopback on router 3, and we're going to source it from our loopback on router 1. So what we're going to see here is that we're going to use the telnet option within the Cisco iOS to actually practice our time-based ACLs, or any extended access control list for that matter. You can use the Cisco iOS telnet feature to specify what port you want to connect on, and so that's what I'm going to show you here with this time-based ACL. In this case, if I do a show IP route on router 1, I have an adjacency to router 2, and I'm learning the EIGRP networks behind router 2, which is the 23 network and the 3 network. So if I ping router 3's loopback, I am successful. So what I'm going to do here is show you a basic example of how you can use the telnet command. Actually, let's go to router 3 real fast, and we'll go ahead and create a username of Cisco. Actually, we'll do a username of admin and a password is going to be Cisco. So that's what we have going on right now. We just created the user on router 3. Okay, so now that we have the user configured on router 3, let's go to router 1. Let's see if we can telnet over. As you can see, it says password required but none set because we didn't set up the VTY lines on router 3. Let's go under global config, and we'll do a line VTY to 903, and we'll do login local, or login local. Now if I go back to router 1 and do a telnet, as you can see here now it's prompting for a username, so we'll put in our username we created, which was admin and Cisco. And here we are at router 3. So as you can see here, our telnet works. Also, we can also do telnet and then question mark. I can telnet using different ports, and we can also source our traffic from a specific interface. What we're going to do now is we're going to set up an ACL on router 2, and that ACL is going to be inbound to router 2. And what we're going to do is go here to router 2. We'll do IP access list extended because we're going to create an extended access list for a time-based ACL. We're going to name it let's go ahead and name this R1 to R2. So basically this is just traffic from R1 into R2. Again, because we're going to be applying it inbound on faster than 00 on R2. So let's go to router 2 here. We'll do access list extended R1 to R2. First, what we're going to do is, since we're going to be using an ACL inbound, what we want to do is permit UDP from any to any equal to, if we do a permit question, as you can see here, we have a bunch of routing protocols here. We want to make sure that we want to allow the routing traffic. So we're going to do a permit EIGRP from any to any. And that is going to be our first line in our ACL. And now what we're going to do is, for our first example, we're going to permit traffic from, we're going to allow telnet traffic. Let's see here. We're going to allow telnet traffic from R1 to R3 from, let's see here, from 0800 to 1600, which is 4 p.m. So 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. Okay, so first thing what we want to do here is, with a time frame like this, if you go back into router 2, we can use the following command here, which is, what we have to think about first is, if I'm going to permit this traffic only for this time frame, what I'm going to have to do is have two statements for my telnet traffic. I'm going to have a deny any, and I'm also going to have a permit any. If you think about the ACL and the sequence of how the ACL operates, how the traffic gets traffic processed through the ACL, what I have to do in this case is put the permit statement above the deny statement, because I have the deny TCP any equal to telnet as sequence 20, and then I have a permit under it that's allowing telnet traffic. It will never get to that traffic because everything's going to be denied by the statement above. So what we're going to do here first is put our permit statement, permit TCP from any to any, or in this case, if we want to be more specific, permit TCP from host 1.1.1.1 to host 3.3.3.3 equal to telnet. And as you can see here, if we do a question mark, you can filter based on time range. So we're going to filter using this time range command. So we're going to create a name for our time range. We'll just name it here, and then we'll go ahead and do a deny TCP from host 1.1.1.1 to host 3.3.3.3 equal to telnet, and then we'll put in there a deny IP any so we can see all the other entries under there. So if I do a show access list, we have our permit traffic permitting our EIGRP. We don't want to drop that routing protocol traffic. So that goes first. Then we have permit TCP from host 1.1.1.1 to host 3.3.3.3 equal to telnet equal to time range task 1. So you can see here it says that the task 1 is active. We'll go ahead and go under global config. We'll put in the time range command, and then we'll name it task 1. If we hit question mark, we have a couple of different values we can use. The first one we're going to use here is periodic. Since we want to filter telnet traffic through Monday through Friday, we're going to do periodic, and then we'll do the weekdays command, or the weekdays option. That'll do Monday through Friday, and then we'll do question mark here, start time. It's going to be 0800 to 1600. So 0800 to 1600, and that's it. With that command, if I do a show clock right now on R2, you can see the time is Friday, March 1st, 2002. We know that's wrong. We're not going to worry about that right now because it's irrelevant right now. What we're going to do is, all we're really worried about is it's Friday and it's 0028. So right now, based on the time on the router, it's outside the window of the permit statement for the time range. So if we do a show access list, you can see here now that it shows up as inactive. With this being said, sequence 20 isn't even going to take effect in this ACL. So if I go ahead, let's go ahead and apply this ACL. If I do a do show IP interface brief, interface faster than 00 is where I'm going to apply it, because that's my connection to router 1. So we'll do an IP access group and then the name, which is R1 to R2, and then we're going to filter inbound. So we go ahead and apply that to the interface. Now if we go back to router 1, and if I go ahead and try to do a clear log on R2, and if I do a debug IP packet on R1, if I try to, you know what, let's go ahead and take the debugging off there. We won't worry about the debug right now. That's just going to give us too much information. If we do a no logging console, and then we'll do a logging buffered, then we'll just do a debug IP packet now on R2. So we go back to R1. We're going to try to tell out to router 3, but based on our ACL inbound, we should not be able to. And as you can see here, we get the response here, destination unreachable. So if I go to router 2 and do a show log, you can see here now, actually give me 1 second here, we forgot to source it. We'll source it from the interface of loopback 0, and as you can see here, we can still see the same error. That way we can see the traffic coming from the 1.1.1.1. So if we do a show log, scroll to the bottom, if we look here, you can see from the source 1.1.1.1 to 3.3.3.3, we're getting access denied. So if we do a show access list, you can see here now that we're seeing the match under the 30 sequence we are seeing matches now under sequence 30. So the only really reason we put that in there is to show us the exact match that we're getting here when we use the source interface from router 1 to router 3 using the loopback 0. So really that's really the only reason why I did that, just to show you that exact match was taking place. So what we can do now, if we do a show clock here on R2, we can see here, so we can see here that it's off by just about a minute on both routers. So what I'm going to do now is show you, if I change the time, clock set, if I set the time within the ACL range here, what we're going to see is it turn from inactive to active and then match. So that's why I'm going to change this time here on R2. If I do a clock set, and we'll just set the time here to 12 o'clock, which is noon. We'll just do the 1st of March again, which is 2002, because we know that's a Friday. So now if I do a show access list on R2, now it's saying that our sequence 20 is active for our time range ACL entry, because it falls within the, if we do a show time range here, you can see here time range entry task 1, you can see it's periodic weekdays 0800 to 1600, and it's also showing you where it's used here. So if I go back to router 1 and try to telnet, as you can see here, now it's letting me in. So if I put in the username admin password, so I'm in a router 3 now, so that's it. So if we go back to router 2 now, if I do a show access list, you can see here now that I have matches for sequence 20, which is our time range sequence within our extended ACL here. So what we'll do next is we will show you how to do one more option under the time range feature, and then we will be done. So the next thing that we're going to go over here is how to use the absolute command within the time range, or the time-based access control list. What the absolute command is going to do is, say we're going to create something new here, we're going to filter on web traffic from some, say we got some new equipment that is being installed during a certain week, or say we have, you know, like a month of new installs that we're doing. Let's just say in this case we're just installing a new connection to the internet, because right now we got real slow traffic. So let's just create a statement here that says we're going to deny web traffic from R1's loopback to R3's loopback, and we're going to do this from 1100 to 1400. I'm sorry, let's do 1100 to 1500, which is 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we'll we'll do this on weekdays. Starting at on the 3rd of March, running through we'll just say starting from 1 March through all the way through March. We'll just say the 1st of March through the 1st of, we'll just do 1 March up to the 1st of April. So for the whole month of March, we're going to deny web traffic from R1's loopback to R3's loopback from 1100 to 1500 weekdays starting from 1 March up to 1 April. So how are we going to do this? First thing is we're going to create the time range. We'll call this time range task 2, and we'll hit enter. And then here if we look at the periodic, this isn't going to allow us to set an absolute time frame. So here we want to basically deny it all the way through March. So what we can do in this case is we can use the absolute command. So as you can see there, we have the absolute command. We'll use absolute start 0000. The day of the month is going to be 1 March 2002. What we'll do is the end is 23:59. Day of the month 31 March 2002. And then hit enter. So this command alone isn't going to give us everything that we need to do. If we look back here to the task, we want to deny web traffic from R1's loopback to R3's loopback from 1100 to 1500 weekdays starting 1 March to 1 April. All this command is going to do, this absolute command is going to give us the time frame. Okay, we're going to start this on the 1st of March and we're going to run it up all the way to the 31st of March. So what we have to do next is we also need to specify weekdays. So under the same time range, we're going to use the periodic weekdays command starting. Our start time is going to be 1100 to 1500, and so that's it. So that should do it. So if we do a show time range under task 2, we have 2 entries. We have the absolute command, which specifies at the beginning of the end of the 1st of March to the 31st of March. Then we have the periodic weekdays command, which tells us that we want to have this ACL applied during the weekdays from 1100 to 1500. So again, the start time and end time, this is just for the date. This is just going to start on this date, but these are actually the days in which the time frame in which we're going to filter this traffic. So periodic weekdays from 11 to 1500. As you can see here, it's also showing that it's active. So if I do a show clock, what you can see here is it's 12 o'clock. It's during the periodic weekdays time. So if we change the clock, if we do a clock set and change the time from 0800 we'll do the same day. So if I do a show time range, you see now that it's inactive. Even though it still falls within the absolute start and end range, it does not fall within the periodic weekdays, which is from 1100 to 1500. So it's inactive. So now what we need to do is do a show access list. We're going to squeeze in these entries. We'll put them in between, actually we'll just do this. We'll do IP access list extended R1 to R2. We'll do a no 40. So if we do a do show IP access list here, you can see here now that we took off the deny IP any. So now what we can do is add our other commands here. So we'll do 40. What we're going to do here is, again, if we look back at our scenario, we're going to deny web traffic from R1's loopback to R3's loopback in this time frame. So what we're going to do here in this scenario is, if it's a deny, if we want to deny this web traffic within this time frame, what we're going to do here is we're going to put the deny statement in front of the permit statement. So 40, we'll do 40 deny TCP from host 1.1.1.1 to host 3.3.3.3 equal to, for web traffic we're going to do www, and then we'll do our time range command here, and then we'll specify our time range, which is task 2. And then underneath this we'll do a permit TCP from host 1.1.1.1 to host 3.3.3.3 equal to www then we'll just do a deny IP any. So if we do a show access list here, as you can see here now, we put our deny statement on the web traffic, we put it above the permit statement. Because if we were to put the permit statement above the deny statement, if we look at how the ACL filters the traffic, that traffic will never reach the deny because the permit will always be hit. So that's why we put the deny above the permit. The deny is inactive right now. So say it gets activated, so if it gets activated, sequence 40 is going to be sequence 40 is going to be hit before sequence 50. So we're going to show you that here now. If I go to router 1, you see here now that it's inactive. So if I go to router 1, we'll do a clear log on R2. So if I go to router 1, if I do a telnet 3.2.3.3, remember we can specify the port. So here we're going to use www as the port, and then here we're going to use the source interface of loopback 0. As you can see here, if I hit enter, it says try and open. If I do on router 2, if I do a show log or show access list, as you can see here now, we're seeing matches being hit up on sequence 50, which is permit TCP from host 1.1.1.1 to host 3.3.3 equal to web traffic. So as you can see, web traffic is being permitted through right now, because as of right now we are not filtering that traffic. with our newly made time-based ACL task 2. If we go back to our original statement, we're going to deny web traffic from R1's loopback to R3's loopback from 1100 to 1500 weekdays starting 1 March up to 1 April. So if I do a show clock on R2, that's why this statement is inactive, because right now the time is not within the task 2 time range. So if I go ahead and change the clock on R2, clock set, if I set it to something to match within that time period, which is 1300, and then we'll do 1 March. So 1 March is a Friday, which is a weekdays for 2002. So now if I do a show access list, as you can see here now, this statement sequence 40 has become active because it's within the time range for task 2. So now if I go back to R1, and on R1 if I do a hold on a second, we got something here going on. Sorry about that. I just looked like the GNS3 got hung up, so we had to restart the whole thing and we had to rebuild the lab. So anyway, we're back into it now. We're trying to telnet again here to loop back up router 3. Again, it should hit up this deny statement again, which is sequence 40 within our ACL. So if I do a telnet, let's do the source interface of loopback 0. As we can see here, we're getting destination unreachable. If we do a show access list, as you can see now, that sequence 40, which is denied TCP host, as you can see now, sequence 40 is showing that it has 3 matches now. So now that our second task has been properly applied, so I think that's probably where we're going to end this today. That's what we wanted to show you with time-based ACLs. The key that you have to remember is you want to put your time range statements above your regular statements. In this case, we want to deny traffic, but only within a specific time range. So if we set the permit traffic or the permit statement above the deny statement, then the deny statement would have never been matched. So watch the logic of the ACLs and just make sure that we understand the ACL logic properly using time-based ACLs. So thank you for watching the video, and I hope that you'll be with me with the next one. Thank you.